Today, this is the audio and video version of the topic on tissues. So, the definition of tissues: tissues are groups of specialized cells that work together to perform specific functions within an organism. These cells are organized in a structured manner and they are often surrounded by non-cellular matrix that provides support and nourishment. These tissues are the building blocks of organs and organ systems in multicellular organisms such as human beings. And they are classified into four main types: the epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. Each type of tissue has a unique structure and function, and together they form the complex network of tissues that make up the body. So the four types of tissues were mentioned. The epithelial tissue is a type of tissue that covers the surface of the body. It lines the cavities and organs and forms glands. It also serves as a protective function, and also it plays a role in absorption and secretion. For the connective tissue, it is a type of tissue that provides support and structure to the body, and this includes bones, cartilage, blood vessels, and it also plays a role in storage and transport. For muscle tissue, it is responsible for movement and it includes skeletal, smooth, and cardiac muscle. And lastly, for the nervous tissue, this type of tissue is involved in transmission of nerve impulses and it includes the neurons and the glial cells. For the importance of tissues in human body, it is essential to the functioning of the human body as they are responsible for carrying out specific functions that are necessary for life, such as, for example, providing support, structure, facilitating movement, exchanging nutrients and gases, and transmitting information. For example, in epithelial tissue, uh, it lines the surfaces of the body and it protects from external damage and infection, while connective tissue provides structural support to organs and tissues. Muscle tissue allows for movement, and nervous tissue enables the transmission of signals between different parts of the body. The proper functioning of tissues is crucial for maintaining overall health and well being. And damage to tissues, whether through, for example, injury or diseases, it can lead to serious health problems and even death. The characteristics of an epithelial tissue, so as you can see here in the illustration, it is composed of tightly packed cells that forms a continuous sheath and it covers the body's surfaces and also it lines cavities and organs. It is avascular, meaning it lacks blood vessels and it relies on diffusion to obtain nutrients and remove waste. Epithelial tissue is polarized with one side facing the external environment or facing the body cavity, and the other side is facing the underlying connective tissue. It also is capable of regeneration and allowing it to repair damage quickly. Here are the types of epithelial tissue: squamous, cuboidal, columnar. It is classified based on shape and the number of layers that of the cells that it contains. So here are the three main uh, types of epithelial tissue. Ang squamous, as you can see here, this consists of flattened cells that form a thin, smooth layer, and it is found in areas such as the skin, lining of blood vessels, and the lungs. For cuboidal, it is consists of cube-shaped cells that lines the ducts of glands and the kidneys. And for columnar, that's why it's called columnar because it consists of elongated cells that line the digestive tract, respiratory tract, and the uterus. So, as you can see, there are multiple columns of epithelial cells. So epithelial tissue can also be classified based on the number of layers. So for simple cuboidal, it is consists of cube-shaped cells that are only one layer. Simple cuboidal shells, simple cuboidal epithelial cells. For if it is more than, for example, so you can see here, they are consist of squamous cells, no, or stratified squamous cells, because they contain multiple layers of cuboidal cells, right? As you can see here, also it is simple columnar because that's just one layer of columnar cells. So simple epithelium consists of a single layer of cells, while stratified epithelium contains multiple layers of cells. The functions of epithelial tissue, they serve several functions including protection, secretion, absorption, and sensation. It forms a barrier that protects the body from physical, chemical, and biological damage. Epithelial cells also secrete and absorb substances such as nutrients and gases, and they play a role in sensation as they contain specialized cells that detect touch, taste, and smell. Now, where are epithelial tissues located? They are found throughout the body, including on the skin surface, lining the respiratory and digestive tracts, and in glands that secrete hormones and other substances. For connective tissue, the characteristics are they are diverse groups of tissues that provide structural support and protection to the body's organs and tissues. Some of the main characteristics of connective tissues, they are extracellular. No, ang extracellular matrix, it is a connective tissue that contains a large amount of extracellular matrix, which is composed of mga fibers and ground substance. The extracellular matrix provides strength and support to the tissue. Kasi diba, connective tissues are structural support, yun ang main niyang function. And then for cells, what are the cells of in a connective tissue? They contain a variety of cells including fibroblasts, adipocytes, chondrocytes, osteocytes, and blood vessels. How about vascularization? The degrees ng ilang vascularization, it varies depending on the type of connective tissue. So for example, some connective tissues such as bone and cartilage, they are avascular, meaning wala sang blood vessels, avascular. While others, such as adipose tissue, they are highly vascularized. For the function, connective tissue has a variety of functions, including support and protection of other tissues, storage of energy, and immune defense. And for regeneration, connective tissue has the capacity for regeneration, allowing it to repair itself after injury, just like with epithelial tissues. The types of connective tissues you can see there: loose, dense, cartilage, bone, and blood. So for loose connective tissue, it is a type of connective tissue that is found throughout the body and helps to provide support and cushioning for other tissues. So for example, this includes adipose tissue and areolar tissue. For the dense connective tissue, it is a type of connective tissue that contains more collagen fibers and less ground substance than loose connective tissue. So, ang mga examples ng dense connective tissue are tendons and ligaments. For cartilage, a type of connective tissue that is avascular also, and it composed of chondrocytes embedded in the matrix of collagen fibers and proteoglycans. So example of cartilages are hyaline cartilage and fibrocartilage. And for the bone, it is a type of connective tissue that is highly mineralized and it is composed of osteocytes embedded in the matrix of collagen fibers and calcium phosphate. And for the blood, blood is also a connective tissue. It is a type of connective tissue that contains cells such as red blood cells and white blood cells and plasma, which is the liquid portion of the blood. The functions of connective tissue, they provide structural support and protection to other tissues and organs, and they connect and binding tissues together. They provide cushioning and shock absorption. They store energy in the form of adipose tissue and support immune defenses throughout the production of white blood cells and antibodies. And they also transport nutrients, gases, and waste products throughout the body through the bloodstream. And lastly, they repair. Now, repair and regenerate. Repairing and regenerating damaged tissues. Where are connective tissues located in the body? Adipose tissue, they are found beneath the skin, around organs, and in bone marrow. For areolar tissue, they are found beneath the skin, around organs, and between muscles. For tendons, they connect muscles to bone, and they are found throughout the body. For ligaments, they connect bone to bone, and they are found in joints. For cartilage, they are found in joints and in the ear, the nose, and trachea. For the bone, they form skeleton and is found all throughout the body. For blood, it circulates throughout the body and in blood vessels. And for lymphatic tissue, they are found in lymph nodes, the spleen, and other lymphoid organs. Okay, let's go to muscle tissue. What are the characteristics of muscle tissue? Muscle tissue is a specialized tissue that is responsible for producing movement in the body. Some of the main characteristics include contractility. Muscle tissue has the ability to contract and generate force, which allows it to produce movement. Next is excitability. Muscle tissue is able to respond to stimuli such as nerve impulses or hormones, which can trigger muscle contractions. Extensibility. Muscle tissues can be stretched or extended without damage, allowing for a greater range of motion. Elasticity. Muscle tissue is able to return to its original shape after being stretched or contracted. Striations. Some types of muscle tissue, such as, for example, skeletal and cardiac muscle, they have striped or striated appearances due to the organization of actin and myosin filaments. For voluntary or involuntary control, skeletal muscle is under voluntary control, meaning it is consciously controlled by the brain, while ang smooth and cardiac muscle are under involuntary control and they are regulated by an autonomic nervous system. Meaning you don't have to tell your brain you don't have to tell your brain nga dapat ipa-beat ya ang heart, no, ang cardiac muscle sa heart because they are regulated sa ANS or autonomic nervous system. For types of muscle tissue, skeletal muscle. This type of muscle is attached to the skeleton and it is responsible for voluntary movements such as walking, running, and jumping. And the skeletal muscle is striated in appearance and can be consciously controlled. So here is your skeletal muscle. skeletal muscle. For smooth muscle, this type of muscle is found in the walls of organs such as the stomach, intestine, and blood vessels. Smooth muscle is responsible for involuntary movements such as the contractions of the digestive system and blood vessels. Smooth muscle is not striated in appearance. So here is your smooth muscle. Lastly, cardiac muscle. This type of muscle is found only in the heart and it is responsible for pumping blood throughout the body. Like skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle is striated in appearance, but ang skeletal muscle is under siya sa voluntary control, but ang cardiac muscle is under involuntary control. So here are the functions of muscle tissue. First is movement. Skeletal muscle is responsible for voluntary movements such as walking, running, and jumping. Smooth muscle controls involuntary movements such as the contractions of the digestive system and the blood vessels. Cardiac muscle responsible for contraction of the heart and pumping blood throughout the body. Stability. Skeletal muscle supports the skeleton and maintains posture, which is important for stability and balance. Heat production. Muscle tissue produces heat as a byproduct of its own contraction, which helps to maintain body temperature. And protection. Skeletal muscle provides protection to internal organs such as the rib cage, which protects the heart and lungs. Uh, Last, control of body openings. So smooth muscle controls the opening and closing of various body openings such as the pupils of the eyes and the airways of the lungs. The location of muscle tissue. Di natin sila makita. Muscle tissue is located throughout the human body. For skeletal muscle, this type of muscle is attached to the skeleton and is found in the arms, legs, torso, and face. Smooth muscle, this type of muscle is found in the walls of internal organs such as stomach, intestine, uterus, blood vessels. Cardiac muscle only found in the heart, and skeletal muscle, it accounts for the majority of muscle tissue in the body, and there are over 600 skeletal muscles in the human body. Smooth muscle and cardiac muscle are found in much smaller amounts compared to the other type of muscles. Alright, let's go to the nervous tissue. What are the characteristics? Nervous tissue is composed of specialized cells called neurons and supporting cells called glial cells. So as you can see here, if wala ta na-mention ang word nga neuron, maybe hindi nyo siya ma-distinguish, but yes, amo na yung mga neurons. We will tackle more about that sa nervous system. But neurons have a unique structure that allows them to transmit electrical impulses or signals. So, glial cells naman ang nag-provide support and protection to neurons. No? Nervous tissue is highly specialized and is responsible for coordinating and controlling the functions of the body. So there are two types of nervous tissue, the CNS and the PNS. CNS is central nervous tissue or central nervous system tissue. This includes the brain and spinal cord, and ang PNS naman, peripheral nervous system tissue. This includes all nervous tissue outside of the CNS. So all other nervous tissue that is not the brain or the spinal cord is considered as PNS. These are the nerves that run throughout the body. For the function of nervous tissue, they are diverse. They provide diverse functions. Meron kita sensory input, integration, motor output, homeostasis. So for sensory input, Nervous tissue receives sensory input from both the internal and external environment, such as light, sound, and touch. For integration, nervous tissue processes and integrates sensory input to produce appropriate responses. Ano ang himuon, ano ang magiging response ng human body with the sensory input nga na feel niya or yung stimuli. For the motor output, nervous tissue sends motor output to muscles and glands to produce responses to stimuli. And homeostasis, nervous tissue helps to maintain homeostasis by regulating body functions such as heart rate, breathing, and digestion. Where are nervous tissue found in the body? Again, nervous tissue is located all throughout the body. It's either BNS or CNS, with the majority being found in the brain and spinal cord. So peripheral nervous tissue naman is found in nerves that run throughout the body that connects to muscles and organs. Let's talk about tissue repair and regeneration. Tissue repair and regeneration are essential processes for maintaining the structure and function of organs and tissues in the human body. This tissue damage can occur due to a variety of reasons, including, for example, if you had injury, diseases, or aging. So, the process of tissue repair and regeneration involves the replacement of damaged or dead cells with new healthy cells. As you can see here sa illustration, if you have a wound, no, ang blood vessels or injury or bleeding from the wound, it would form blood clots. As you can see there, macrophage, white blood cells clean up the wound. And then, new blood vessels grow and granulation tissue occurs. No, nag-form na siya. And lastly, epithelial tissue regeneration, appearance of connective tissue fibers. And ma-leave na siya scar. So, nag-regenerate na ang iya epithelium diri sa epidermis nga area. Alright. Factors that affect tissue repair and regeneration. That is including age, nutrition, blood supply, and infection. For age, tissue repair and regeneration, it tends to slow down with age, making it more difficult for older individuals to recover from injuries or illnesses. Right? So, for nutrition, adequate nutrition is essential for tissue repair and regeneration. Poor nutrition can slow down the healing process and increase the risk of complications. Blood supply. Adequate blood supply is necessary for tissue repair and regeneration. Inadequate blood supply can cause slowing or mas slow down ang pag-heal sa process and increase the risk of complications. For presence of infection, the presence of infection can impair tissue repair and regeneration. It can also increase the risk of complication. So, types of tissue repair and regeneration. Mayara kita sang 3 types: regeneration, fibrosis, resolution. So, for regeneration, it occurs when damaged cell tissues is replaced by new tissue of the same type. And this is possible in tissues with high regenerative capacity, such as, for example, sa liver and sa skin. Sa fibrosis, it occurs when damaged tissue is replaced by scar tissue. This is common in tissues with low regenerative capacity, such as heart and lungs. And lastly, for the resolution, it occurs when damaged tissue is repaired without scarring, and this is common in minor injuries such as cuts and bruises. No, mga lagok. For tissue engineering is a multidisciplinary field that combines principles of biology, engineering, and medicine to develop methods for creating functional tissues and organs. In tissue engineering, it aims to provide solutions to tissue damage or loss caused by injury, disease, or aging. Tissue engineering involves the use of scaffolds, cells, and signaling molecules to create three-dimensional tissue constructs that mimics the structure and function of natural tissues. These constructs can be used for research, drug development, and ultimately for clinical applications. The applications for tissue engineering, organ transplantation. So, tissue engineering may provide an alternative to organ transplantation by creating functional replacement organs. Wound healing. Tissue engineering may provide new treatments for chronic wounds that are difficult to heal. Next is cardiovascular diseases. It may provide new treatments for heart disease by creating functional heart tissue. For cancer research, tissue engineering may provide new tools for cancer research by creating three-dimensional tumor models. And what are the current challenges in tissue engineering? Now, despite its promise, tissue engineering still faces many challenges, including cell source, finding a reliable and abundant cell source. For tissue engineering, it still remains a challenge. Scaffolds, how to design scaffolds that mimics the structure and function of natural tissues. It is still a hit or miss process in tissue engineering. Integration, integrating tissue engineered constructs with existing tissues and organs remains a challenge. So, for example, may mga lab rats nga gina-engineer ang ilang body in order to make model of a human ear, and then kuwao na ang human ear sa lawas sang rat, and then ibutang sa tawo for aesthetic purposes. So it is still a challenge. Regulatory approval. Now, obtaining regulatory approval for tissue engineered products, it remains a challenge in a sense that dapat within the bounds of ethics. That's why it needs to be regulated. All right, here are our references for tissues. This can also be accessed in your handouts. They are all clickable in case you want to do advanced reading, and that's all for tissues.